All right, today I'm going to record the best video on Dycyanin glasses, Dycyanin goggles, the red light, the aura, the infrared, the demons that the military was seeing with the infrared Dycyanin, or however you pronounce it, goggles, and plasma orbs, the visible light spectrum, how to create your own goggles, how to create your own natural goggles by increasing the amount of visible light you're able to see. So here we go. We're going to begin with this very simple observation. Human sight operates inside a very narrow window. It's a very thin band carved out of a much larger electromagnetic environment. It's optimized for survival, absolutely not for complete comprehension of this realm. In fact, it's veiled from us. Everything outside that window, it doesn't disappear, right? It just simply fails to register. We don't perceive it. The world does not simply end where our visual perception does. That is beyond ridiculous, and we're going to prove it. Human vision is not passive. Our brains aggressively edit the incoming data. There's too much info. It has to filter it. Motion, edges, threat cues remain, right? Because those are the things we need to survive. We detect motion really well. But subtle gradients are discarded. Reality becomes compressed before we can even render it. And what we see is what survives that filter. Absolutely not what exists. And the fact is, without a doubt, that this filter is 100% adjustable. And I'm going to tell you how. So throughout history, when this filter is disturbed, not broken, just shifted, the same exact reports begin to surface. Vapor-like forms, apparitions, phantasms, luminous outlines, wheels within wheels, orbs, moving structures and empty air, plasma, genies, jinn, right? It's not everywhere, not constantly, but consistently. And at this point is where optics and more information about the process is going to enter the story. Okay, so Dycyanin was a dye made from coal tar by Walter John Kilner. He claimed the dye could make goggles that caused auras to become visible. So just biophotons create auras. We emit light. We are electromagnetic beings. We have auras. You just can't see them. So these things can make it more visible. And in Dub Dub Deuce, the pilots were saying that it was a window into the supernatural realm of ghosts and demons. They were refusing to wear these glasses, right? These Dycyanin or red light night vision goggles. And again, reporting things like demons, dragons, right? And here's just an idea or a concept of what they might have seen. I doubt any real images exist that could make it down to us. But again, we're going to talk about how you can make your own actual physical goggles in a legal way. And we're going to talk about how you can make your own natural goggles by increasing the amount of the light spectrum, the electromagnetic spectrum that is visible to your natural senses. So these things don't claim to add new vision, and I'm not claiming that's what it does either. It suppresses dominant wavelengths. So it reduces glare and visual noise, right? And when the dominant signals were quieted, weaker ones emerge, right? When the sun sets, you can see the stars, right? So they see mist-like shapes, fields around living bodies, and motion without solid form. Wheels within wheels, plasma orbs. The significance isn't belief. It's just pattern recognition. And the story absolutely is not just confined to occult circles, right? It enters controlled environments, like I said, during Dub Dub Deuce, Korea, Vietnam, across multiple nations. Pilots and soldiers were issued these early night vision systems, these red-filtered optics, near-infrared amplification, and these systems forced the brain into unfamiliar perceptual modes. It let them see more of the electromagnetic spectrum beyond what is visible to the normal human eye for most people. So what was reported absolutely was not confusion, it was presence. Moving forms not attached to terrain. Humanoid silhouettes without heat signatures. Serpentine and winged shapes. And figures described, they were unprompted as demons, spirits, or dragons. Okay? Imagine dragons. You better start believing in dragons because you're living in a realm where they exist and you just can't see them. But they can take any shape they want. They're Sentient plasma beings that reflect probably back to you what you deserve to see or expect to see. They're the cosmic jesters, right? That are always referred to, these pranksters, right? And these reactions of these pilots were immediate, absolute fear without any real physical threat from the, perceivable to the outside world, a uniform stress response, and a uniform reluctance to continue to use these things. Not hysteria, not folklore, not oral myth, these are trained observers under pressure, seeing too much. And it's the use didn't decline because nothing happened. It declined because something absolutely did happen. So these are also called coal tar goggles, specifically those using the Dycyanin, devices developed by Walter Kilner to perceive auras. And I don't believe in any of this stuff, YouTube. This is all just a big conspiracy theory. I'm having a laugh at people who believe in this. So don't ban my stuff. This is for entertainment purposes only. And these claim to shift the visible spectrum to reveal energy fields, right? So try this all for yourself. Don't just read something that says it's dismissed as pseudoscience and believe it, right? Look, right? Get your own. Use the methods I'm going to describe later in this video to try to increase the amount of the spectrum you see naturally, right? So the fact is that red light does something very specific. It suppresses cone dominance, and rod-based vision takes over. Motion and shape outrank color and identity, and this infrared adds another layer. There are heat gradients, electrical activity, and living systems glowing differently than inert matter. They start to see, like, the skies are alive, right? The sky spirits. There's plasma is 99% of our universe. Even mainstream is admitting that now, or this realm. And there is sentience to it, or intelligence to it, and it reflects or mimics multi-celled creatures, right, and organisms. So, and more, right? So, plasma sentience. Check out my playlist on it. But this isn't speculative. It's the fourth state of matter. It's rare at ground level, but not absent. It is below in the telluric currents, right, the cold plasma, and it appears naturally as filaments, orbs, tendrils, and self-organizing luminous forms, light without combustion, smokeless fire, jinn. And ancient descriptions suddenly read less like metaphor and more like direct observations. These demons, dragons, and this, cross cultures, eras, belief systems, these beings of air and fire, these winged forms, serpentine motion, shifting outlines. Always. Demons, jinn, genies, spirits, dragons, watchers, the shining ones, right? The Ezekiel's wheels. And modern witnesses absolutely still describe this stuff, and that the ancients described and that the pilots described, just using different words. Like I said before, orbs, plasmoids, light forms, atmospheric entities. The vocabulary changes, but the phenomenon or shape doesn't. So, it's no longer what did they believe, but absolutely what were they describing. And to this point in this video, I've been just exploring, perception change through tools, but hinting that tools are not the only way that the filters shift. So again, the human body is absolutely an electromagnetic system. The heart absolutely generates a measurable field. The brain operates electrically, and cells emit photons as metabolic byproducts. The body is already luminous, just not visibly so to most people. But this is why some people can see auras and why some people have strong auras. So before I go diving deep into that, I want to do a little side quest here, because I got thinking about Colgate and colostrum and DMT and cerebrospinal fluid and Kundalini. Well, colostrum is the first milk rich in antibodies for newborns, immune cells, critical and crucial. There's actually a Santa colostrum sheep, a breed studied for its colostrum quality. Interesting. Santa Claus comes down the chimney or up the Jacob's ladder, 33 vertebrae spine. Is it the same thing as the cerebral spinal fluid, the fluid surrounding the brain and spinal cord? It shows colostrum components. Santa Claus down or up the chimney, lactoferrin, and can cross into the CFS, suggesting brain development benefits. And there is temporary immunity transferred from mother to offspring via colostrum. So, how could this tie into the pineal gland and kundalini and cerebral spinal fluid? Well, the pineal gland is located centrally in the brain. It's where Daniel met God at the land of Peniel, right? It secretes the hormone melatonin directly into the CSF. This CSF-borne melatonin regulates the body's circadian sleep-wake cycle rhythms and acts as a powerful antioxidant, which keeps us healthy. With its robust rhythm in the CSF signaling darkness, the gland's close relationship with the CSF means pineal issues like tumors or cysts can block CSF flow, or if your pineal is basically calcified by, contaminants in water and stuff. And these symptoms will be headaches, nausea, and vision problems due to increased intracranial pressure, hydrocephalus, right? And brain swelling also causes some of what they will call autism, right? Concerns like, so think about it, colostrum, right? Related to all the stuff I just brought up, DMT, cerebral spinal fluid, kundalini, the pineal gland, colostrum, and Colgate toothpaste has, fluoride. So could that be coding that it's a gate to block your colostrum? It's a colostrum gate. It closes, it shuts down your third eye and this whole process. I wouldn't brush my teeth with Colgate, like that one rapper Yellow Wolf says. But, what is DMT? Well, it's dimethyltryptamine, something like that. And it's an abundant in plants, especially the acacia tree bark, Akashic field, right? Acacia tree bark, ayahuasca, mimosa, all kinds of stuff. And suggests that the pineal gland, right, produces DMT naturally. So why would they want to block us from producing DMT? Is it the spirit molecule that allows us to interact with this unseen world in some point, right? So if endogenous DMT were produced, the CFS would likely be the medium for its distribution in the brain, okay? And it's a core component of entheogenic or psychedelic brews like ayahuasca, used for spiritual purposes in South America, where they have to combine the DMT with a juice to make it drinkable. So otherwise you have to smoke it. But the mirror, right, the CSF, the subdural space, it could be very similar to what they call kundalini, right? Or the physical representation of it, right? And the bandhas and flow, these yogi practices, aim to direct prana, with sensations often matching CSF movement, suggesting a correlation between internal locks and CSF flow influencing nervous system health. The ascent of Kundalini aims to activate higher centers like the pineal gland, Prajna chakra, with CSF potentially facilitating this journey through the Brahm Nadi, the central spinal canal. A rising Kundalini can cause intense physical sensations, heat, tingling, shaking, goosebumps. I've had it, and I described it on a video recently. Happened to me in 2020. That mirror or influence CSF dynamics. Both excess CSF and poor CSF flow can cause issues similar to negative Kundalini experiences, stress headaches. Kundalini awakenings can mimic mental illness. Yeah, it's a spiritual awakening, going off the rails on a crazy train. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. You think I'm crazy? Well, maybe you're crazy too. Highlighting the deep connection between subtle energy, neurological function, and physical mental health. So, to me, this is all super undeniable. And I hope you think this is the best video you've ever seen on the Dycyanin goggles, all that stuff. But CSF is formed by blood plasma in the choroid plexus, a network of blood vessels in the brain's ventricles. Essentially filtered plasma, but it removes most cells, large proteins, and substances while adding others. Cerebral spinal fluid is about 99% water, similar to plasma, and it has memory. CSF has significantly lower protein and cell counts. And it has ions, concentrations of certain ions, ionized gases, plasma, like sodium and chloride. They're higher in CSF. And in essence, CSF starts as plasma, but is modified to create a protective, nutrient-delivering fluid with a stable environment for the brain and spinal cord. So, how do we get in coherence and set us up to see more of this field, right? Well, cleaner metabolic states reduce biochemical noise. Less overstimulation sharpens contrast. And a quieter system detects weaker signals. So this isn't mystical. It is scientific knowledge about signal processing, the way our body processes signals, facts about unseen signals that are present in our everyday life that we can't see, and how to increase our ability to process these unseen signals. Low digestive loads, rapid assimilation, and minimal chemical interference. The eyes, the nerves, the brain no longer compete with internal chaos when the field clears, right? So things like fasting, things like meditating, they don't add, they remove, right? They get out of the way. They take loads off of processes that are interfering with our ability to see. So this is why across cultures they go on vision quests, desert fasts, monastic retreats. The pattern repeats. When digestion stops, digestion, neural resources free up, sensory acuity increases, and peripheral awareness expands. Nothing is added, something is removed. And I will testify, I will witness to this situation. Anytime I start fasting or just eating as little as possible and mostly raw fruit, I just feel great, and I start making way more connections, and I feel electric. So hydration, minerals, breathing, and stillness. These alter charge balance. They stabilize internal fields. They reduce the interference. So sensity follows stability, not effort. And this is why the people who go through these awakenings, a lot of them do different things like fast or meditation, right? They clear out the way to see the aura, the auric field, the aurora borealis, the northern lights, the plasma, the jinn, the genies, the sentient ancient ones, the orbs, Ezekiel's wheels, without needing coal tar glasses, right? But if you want to get a shortcut, you can get the coal tar glasses. But maybe you won't be ready, and what you'll see will scare you out of pursuing further until you get aligned, right? So here's a report I found which says the dyes which have been most used in astronomical spectroscopy seem to be basically coal tar. But you can read there which chemicals, right? And there's a lot of chemicals found in coal tar. So is coal tar, is the black layer, is the black matte layer our dead ancestors after the cataclysm, and now they're providing us further sight by having these chemicals in their black goo, petrified coal remains. So again, meditation doesn't create visions. It stops the brain from overriding input. It calms the system so more signals can come through. There's less labeling, less prediction, and absolutely more raw signal, right? Peripheral vision becomes dominant and motion emerges. These same conditions that activate rods are the conditions where anomalous phenomena appear. Whether you do that internally or whether you use red light or these goggles or whatever. But the conditions that activate rods instead of cones is what you're after, right? So why some people see without the tools? Well, not all nervous systems filter equally. Some suppress more, some suppress less. There's differences in sensitivity, and they do not imply delusion. They imply variation. A world filtered differently for different people will appear different, right? And it isn't different, it just appears different because not everybody can see the same percentage of the electromagnetic spectrum. And this may be why women tend to be able to identify more color shades than men. Interesting thought. They're more right-brained, right? But some of us are balanced, right? So the third line through all of this: military, Dycyanin lenses, plasma physics, ancient entities, fasting monks, silent meditators. They aren't separate stories. It's the same exact story told through different lenses over and over again. Nothing new under the sun. We just got to find the right language, right? Nothing new is being introduced to reality. Nothing supernatural needs to be declared. The spectrum doesn't even expand. What does is the threshold, the perception of it, the ability to detect it. And when it does, the sky's no longer empty, air is no longer inert, and the old stories stop sounding symbolic. They start sounding observational, which they were. The world has never been empty. We've just simply been trained and brainwashed and conditioned our entire life and medicated and shamed into not seeing it, and I'm tired of it. So anyway, that's it. I hope you love my video. Like, share for the algo. I've got a Patreon for early access to some of my videos and one-on-one chat with me. I've got a Discord for viewer submissions. It's a growing community of great people who talk amongst themselves, submit ideas and pictures to me for videos. And if you want to email me any stories for consideration for feature on my channel, electricgnosis@gmail.com. Again, I hope you loved the video. Love it. Share it. Love you. Peace.